Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So today we're going to be checking out the SYMA X5HW. Now this is SYMA's new redesign of the SYMA X5C, it looks like. This version here has the capability for Wi-Fi cell phone connection, so you can have FPV with the Wi-Fi. And this one also has kind of a hover feature. I guess it's got maybe a barometer on board, so when you let off the control stick it will hover at a certain altitude without going up and down. So gonna be fun. We're gonna go ahead and unbox this, do a close-up inspection, a setup, then we're gonna go out to the park, do a flight test. We're also gonna make sure we can connect it to the cell phone here. We're gonna go over those instructions before we go out and fly, and we're gonna do some home flight as well. Take this in the house, do some quick house testing so we get the two different environments like I usually do for no wind and then some wind in the park, see how it does, and also give it a pros and cons and see how it did. So basically I think I got the blue version. This is the blue version here. Flipping the box around we can see that there is also kind of a white-green version. Anyway, let's go ahead and unbox this and see what's in the box. Alright, yeah, so it does look like I have the blue version. So I'm just going to grab this whole box here and pull it all out real quick. Instruction manual on the bottom. Let's get rid of this big box. And let's take off this top cover. And here we go. So propeller guards on the top and the bottom of the craft. Definitely put these on if you're a beginner to save your propellers. Looks like there's just one screw, kind of like the normal SYMAs have, to hold them on, and then you just push these tabs into the slots right there on the quad. Just going to take everything out around the quad and then we'll go ahead and get into the quad. Looks like they only give us 2 propellers. Well, that's too bad. Would have liked to seen 4, but at least they are giving us 2. I'm not sure. I forget if SYMA usually gives 4, but anyway, we have 2 propellers for backup. This looks like our Wi-Fi FPV camera here. Looks like it's just a clip-on camera, and there's our connector there. We'll be putting that on in just a second. Here's the controller. So normal looking SYMA type controller with a little bit of a different color scheme than I'm used to. I'm used to the blacks and the orange and whites. This is a red and white. We'll go over the controls on this one in just a second as well. But let's go ahead and take out the SYMA itself. And on the bottom here we can see we've got a little bag here just taped to the bottom that's giving us a bunch of stuff. Okay, so here is everything in the box. Let's go ahead and take a look at this little bag of goodies, and we will then really quickly open this up and then we'll take a look at the SYMA in depth. So it looks like here's our phone clamp. So you're going to clamp your cell phone on there. All you do is slide this usually right over here and clamp your cell phone in there. And we'll get that up and running in just a sec. Here's your charger. Plug this into a computer or a cell phone, a little wall adapter, and you can charge that up. And this is the little micro Wakera Losi connector for the LiPo battery. Let's just pull this out real quick so we know what the size is. Looks like they are giving us a 500 milliamp 3.7 volt battery, very similar to all their other X5C batteries there. And what else is in the bag? A screwdriver and the landing feet, and that's it. The landing feet have the screws pre-installed, so you just basically we'll just mount this up right now. Just basically mount these up really easily. Just push them in on all 4 sides, just like so, and then you're just going to tighten down the screws here, like so. All 4 screws so the landing gear don't fall out. Okay, so let's take a little bit of a closer inspection on the craft itself. So X5HW. I'm assuming the H just means it's like hold, like altitude hold, because the other Wi-Fi SYMA X5 W I've reviewed previously, it looks pretty much exactly the same. The look is the same exactly. I think this might be fairly new. I don't remember seeing these kind of motor caps here, but I believe these will just, it looks like they'll just pop off like so, and you can access the screws underneath there if you needed to change your propellers, and these caps will just pop back on. Have the cooling vents, nice blue metallic color. It looks like it's got the same type of LED caps on the bottom, also the same type of camera clip where it just basically slides in and you can hear that click. It just clicks right in, and the camera is basically just going to push in one way into the bottom of the quad, and that's it. You're ready to go. On off switch here, nice to be able to put your battery in, plug in the battery, and not have the power on right away. You can go ahead and do what you need to do, and then when you're ready to fly, switch that on so you're not wasting your battery. This one, the cool thing about this is it's got that, again, that altitude hold. Okay, so I got 4 AA batteries in the controller, and this controller does have a little screw here that you can take out with a screwdriver, and that you should probably never need to put back in again, because as you can see, the door snaps shut pretty good. Actually, this one, let's bend that up a little bit, and you can feel that click and snap. So let's really quickly go ahead and put the cell phone on the mount. Just gotta go ahead and clamp it just like this. The cell phone's all mounted up, and all you need to do is go to the Android App Store and type in SYMA, and you should see the SYMA FPV. Go ahead and install that. Okay, so once SYMA FPV is installed, you're ready to go. And so first of all, you just turn on your craft. I have the battery plugged in. Just press power, set it on a level surface. You can see the lights blinking like that. Turn the controller on, and you're going to hear that controller beep, up and down bind. After you go up and down, we have no control of the throttle. The throttle's not going to make the propellers spin until we arm the motors. Usually altitude hold copters have a function where you have to arm the motors, and for this one you just pull in both sticks to the bottom inwards like that. You can see how the motors start to spin up. And basically to turn them off, you can just hold down on the stick, and you can see the motors have turned off. And basically the way it does its altitude hold function is it's got a spring-loaded left stick. So as you can see, it's springing back to the center. So when you are flying and you just let go of the left stick, it will hover in that position where it's at. Since the stick does come to the center, it should go into its altitude hold mode. So we're going to test all that at the park, but right now we just want to get the FPV to work really fast. So this quad is on, and we're going into our Wi-Fi settings really quick. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the Wi-Fi, and what we want to do is we want to connect. It looks like this one is called FPV Wi-Fi 004D, so I'm going to hit that. It's obtaining IP address, and now it's saying connected. So once it says connected, all you need to do is open up your SYMA FPV app, hit start, and voila, we have FPV. You can see it there. Let's see, little bit slight lag, and that's because of the Wi-Fi. You can see how it does have a little bit of a slight choppiness to the frame rate once in a while. It's not going to be as smooth as 5.8 FPV, but at least we have FPV on our phone. We can use our phone, and then of course you can just snap pictures. So it says save successfully. You snap the picture, start and stop your video. So it's taking video right now of it's recording your screen, what the screen is seeing. So you can record your FPV on your cell phone. Stop video. You can go into where you have your pictures and your video, and you can play those as you want. And so that's about it for the functions. Real quick and easy to go ahead and connect it to the Wi-Fi. As you've seen, it's really simple. You just download the app, make sure you connect to it, and you're good to go. So let's go ahead and charge up the batteries. Make sure we have full batteries in here, full batteries on the X5HW. Really anxious to see how this altitude hold works. So we're going to go out in the field, the park, and get some hat cam video, and then come back to the house and get some house video and kind of do a pros and cons on this guy as well. And I'll tell you what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it. We'll also get some flight timings. We'll also get the video up in the screen as well. When we're flying, I'll take some pictures and I'll record some videos so you can see the quality on that. And if you guys are interested in this thing, don't forget I will have the links down there in the description where you can go ahead and pick this up. So let's go ahead and fly this thing. So I'm at the park with SYMA X5HW. little drone here. This is the Wi-Fi version that you can connect your camera to and have on-screen display with your phone, actually, for Wi-Fi for FPV. So let's go ahead and boot this thing up and see how it does in the park. Then we're going to basically connect to the Wi-Fi. Alright, so unfortunately, I'm not sure why, but I can't get the FPV app to work today. I know it worked on the bench for the initial unboxing, but when I'm booting up the FPV app now, I get this kind of zoomed in screen, and honestly not sure what the deal is. So I'll try again in the house flight, but for today I'll just do a kind of a line of sight flight without the FPV. So let's go ahead and start this thing up. Just want to test some of the flying characteristics. So this one, basically, to arm the motors, you have to bring the sticks in, and you can see how the motors start spinning. So just going to take this phone off for now, and let's see how this thing does. So pushing up on the throttle. Okay. So we got 2 rates of flight. Seems like it's doing pretty good. I got maybe about a 5 mile per hour wind coming from this direction, so it's going to be blowing it back towards us. So the rates, we got rate 1, real docile. Rate 2 gives it way more pitch and roll for outside flight, so I'd recommend going into that. But I haven't really been touching the throttle, and it's been altitude holding pretty good. We'll bring it up just a little bit. So the altitude hold does work on this. Let's go get a close-up shot here. Alright, let's see what else we got. Should have some flip, so I'm going to go up a little bit and then press the right trigger in any direction. So it is flipping well, and it's pulling itself back up to its altitude it was at when we flip. Go ahead and show that real quick. So holding in the right trigger, moving to the right, not touching the throttle, just pushing it forward, and it's maintaining this altitude. So I did not touch the left stick there at all. So doing really good. Go ahead and do a yaw there. Looks like SYMA's yawing is still staying the same as far as 1 rate of yaw in both first and second rates. So, but you know what? This is they're making them fly faster now. It looks like I've got a little more pitch and roll than the normal SYMAs. So let's go ahead and go for a range test real quick. Well, we still got some battery power. Actually, before that, I just want to do a lift test. So from just a steady hover in altitude hold to full throttle. Let's bring it down just a little more. Full throttle up. So it's nice and slow. Full throttle down. Nice and slow coming down, letting off the sticks. And it did drop a bit, almost hit the ground, but then it picked itself back up just about where I let off the sticks. So it's working really well. So I'm going to go out towards that end of the park and just kind of keep doing a roll here while I go out and see when I kind of lose connection. Let's go up a little bit so I can see it against the white clouds. And just going rocking back and forth. Oh, that was it. Okay. So starting to get some dropouts. Looked like only about 100 feet. And I had to hold the controller a little higher to get the signal back. So you're looking at about 100 feet on this thing. Not that great. But you know, it is transmitting the FPV right now, the Wi-Fi, so maybe that's interfering with itself a little bit. So since I don't have the camera on right now, or the Wi-Fi on, I'm just going to fly it around. Let's do a little bit of fast flying in second rate. Just see how it maintains its altitude. So I'm going to stay at, let's say, about this altitude. I'm probably about 7-8 feet now. I'm going to fly full pitch forward. It looks like it is going to drop, but then it's lifting itself back up. So that's cool. Turning, coming towards me. I'm not sure if it's going to do as good in the wind. So it did drop a little. I'm picking it back up. And I'm going to fly full tilt towards me. Not bad, actually. It was maintaining its altitude coming with the wind. So that's good. Now I'm basically full funnels right now. Whoa. Looks like the funnels will catch the wind and it will pitch a little more, so I want to be careful of that. But it is smooth. It's flying very well. I know Sebi did a test on this and I think he got a defective unit, but this gives me hope that that was just a defective unit. This one seems to be flying very well. As you can see, no problems with flight whatsoever. So, still fun to fly, even though we don't have the FPV working. And I'm not sure on that, what the problem was, but when I do the house flight, I'll try to get that to work again. I think it may just be my phone. I have the LG G5, and I think it may be just a glitch because the phone is so new. They may have not updated the app for that new phone. So what I'll do is I'll try it on my other phone. I have an older HTC M7 or M8 phone. I'll try that. I think it's HTC M8. So go ahead and try it on that phone. It probably should work. That way we can see the screen a little better in the house. Very impressed by the altitude hold. Let's bring it in a little closer again and make sure we can have a look at that altitude hold one more time. So nothing on the stick, on the throttle, and it is holding its altitude very well. It's going to fluctuate a little bit, plus it's a little bit windy right now, so but it's doing the job excellent. Whatever they got on there, the barometer is doing an excellent job. Still not touching the sticks. It's going to be influenced by the wind a little bit. Wind is coming from this direction. And all I'm doing is adjusting the pitch and roll. See how it came back up to what it thinks is its altitude hold. Great. Let's see if we give it full pitch and then full throttle when it's almost hitting the ground and see if it can. Yeah, it can kind of pick back up, so unless you're coming at certain angles, you won't hit the ground. Awesome. So very impressed. As far as this model I got, it's flying very well. And the flight characteristics, as I said before, are top notch. Very easy to fly. It looks like they did, I think I mentioned this before, but it looks like they did up the second rate for some higher pitch and roll. So they didn't give you a third, or they didn't give you any change in yaw, but at least they give you a little bit harder, more angle of the pitch, so you can go a little faster. Although it looks like rate 1 pitch is still very, very docile for, say, indoor flight or a beginner in like no wind. Back to rate 1, barely anything. So there's our low-level blinking lights. I want to see what happens when it runs out of power. So I'll be timing this as well. Look at the camera timings on the footage here and see. There it goes. So I'm pushing up full throttle on the controller, and it did go into its low-level drop, which would seem like maybe 10 seconds or so. And then even though I was pushing up on the throttle and it landed, it did shut off the propellers. So that's great. So the low voltage cutoff will prevent it from killing the battery, and it gives you about 10 seconds to land after you see the lights. Cool guys, so let's get this thing back in the house and do a little quick house flight. Tested all the modes in the house, and I'm going to definitely see, you'll see that FPV. It should be working with my other phone. So let's get back in the house and do some house flight and then some final pros and cons. Alright, so here we are in the house. Gonna do a little bit evening house time flight with the SYMA X5HW, and so we're just going to power this bad boy on, and it looks like it's actually working with my other HTC phone, so shouldn't have any problem connecting here. And I'm going to launch the SYMA FPV app after it's connected, and there we go. So yeah, it looks like it's working fine with this phone. Just hitting start, and there we go. So we can see we have our FPV. So let's go ahead and go for a flight. Just to arm, we're going to go up and down. And I did forget to do headless mode and a return to home in the park, so I'm going to make sure I touch base on those with this flight. So let's see how it does. Arming the motors. Going to go ahead and take a snapshot here and also start the video. Let's go ahead and try gyro calibration. Both sticks to the bottom right and both sticks to the bottom left. So that should do level the gyro and the accelerometer. All right. So here we are hovering in the house, and there's no wind in here whatsoever. And we can see the altitude hold. It is going up and down a little. You know, maybe a couple of feet here and there, which isn't too bad. Anyway, we can see the video in the screen here. It is Wi-Fi, so it's using the cell phone wireless. So it's not going to be as responsive as far as the frame rate goes as like regular analog 5.8 gigahertz and stuff, but it is decent. Still definitely flyable, no problem. So let's see, let's try a flip in here. The right trigger and in a direction. There, it flips nicely. So just to let you know, the altitude hold on these kinds of quads, since it does use like a barometer, it's not going to be quite as responsive as if there's no altitude hold. Like, so when you push up, it's just slower to respond. And that's how it is with all quadcopters, even the more expensive GPS ones. Okay, so we're still seeing a little fluctuation. You see how it dropped there on its own, picking up on its own. It is drifting a bit to the right. Let's try to trim it to the left a little bit. There we go, 2 to 3 trims, notches to the left, and it seems like it's flying a little more stable now. Okay, so holding in the left trigger, and we're hearing this beeping, and the lights are flashing. This should be our headless mode, I believe. So I'm going to be turning. Forward is forward, back is back, right is right, and left is always left. So that's the headless mode. So I'm going to try to do that while in a constant yaw. So yawing to the left, and then going forward, back, right, left. So it feels good, feels pretty spot on. I haven't been doing much spinning, but it does feel like it's pretty accurate here in the house, even though there's electronics everywhere. Now in this one, I'm not sure it has really a return to home. Let's go ahead and see what the holding in the right trigger does. No, that didn't do anything. Let's turn off the headless by holding in the left trigger again. Okay, so it should be back in normal flight mode, yeah. And from time to time I will have the video coming up on the screen just so you can see the quality of video in here. It's let's get a little bit of dark area up here. You can see how the camera is in the dark. And then we'll kind of come closer to the lights here so you can see the quality of the camera. Not bad when you get some lighting, it's pretty good. Pretty good detail. And it's just this is the recording directly from the cell phone. Let's fly over here real quick. Say hello to the stormtrooper. Hello, stormtrooper. All right, anyway, okay, let's see if we can get a return to home to work. So I'm gonna hold in the right trigger again. Nothing. Throttle, pushing up, pushing down, no. I think that's the camera function. If you have a plugged in camera, like a regular camera, not an FPV camera. When I do hold in the right trigger, it does make a beep. You hear that? Kind of a long beep when I hold it in for a while. So maybe that's supposed to be a return to home, but it's not implemented here. And then of course pushing in the left trigger one time is going into rate 2. So there's our pitch. Keeping its height pretty good. I'm not really touching the throttle. And it is trying to fight back up there to get its height while I'm doing these crazy yaws and rolls here. I mean pitch and rolls. Let's go back into rate 1. So you see rate 1 is really slow. That's full pitch forward, full pitch back, rolling left and right. Let's get a little close up here while I've still got some battery power. Definitely a cool looking SYMA. It does stand up to its stability for the SYMA name as far as this unit I got here. Alright, so before the battery runs out, I'm just going to go ahead and do a controller shutoff test. See what happens when we lose contact with the controller. And I want to do it from a little bit high with this one because I want to see if it will kind of easily, slowly land all the way down using its altitude hold function. So getting some fluctuation again in the altitude hold, not too bad for a toy quad like this. But I'm going to go about from this height. And I'm going to go ahead and shut off the controller now. 1, 2, 3. So slowly landing. Oh, that's a little too slow for my taste. But it landed and it shut off. Whoa. Okay, now it's turning back on erratically. So I'm going to quickly rebind. Okay, you can see how it was kind of going up and down when I had the controller off. So it did land pretty good, but I'm not sure what that little fluctuation is from. So I didn't really like that, how it was going down a little too slow. It needs to go a little faster, otherwise the wind would take it away from you. So you're going to want to be careful with that. Any kind of wind on this one, especially flying out at distance. So I'm just going to fly around until the battery dies. That was a good little crash test. So it flipped over and the propeller stopped. So that's a very good safety precaution if you do crash. Instead of it flipping over and keeping the propellers running and possibly hurting somebody or damaging itself, it does shut them off. So great feature. Another crash test. Let's try and not do a recal. Seems to still be flying fine. Okay, really putting this thing through its crash testing paces today, but it seems to be having no problems withstanding them. So pretty impressed so far with this thing. Seems to be fine. Whoa. Alright, so that's a little weird. It's doing that on its own after that crash. So I'm going to bring it down and do another recal. So you might get weird stuff like that from crashes. That's why it's important to do a little recal after every time you crash. Okay, let's try again. There we go, back to normal. So apparently that kind of jostled some of the electronics on it, maybe the barometer and accelerometer and stuff on there. So seems to be back to normal with its altitude hold. Let's see what kind of video we can get with the altitude hold function. So you can see a little bit up and down, did drive it into the ceiling, started to get some suction into the ceiling there. But overall, pretty good, no complaints. Alright, so there's our low-level blinking lights. We'll have the timings pop up on the screen here so you can check that out. Once I figure out what it was from the video, I'll have those pop up. Just gonna see how long it takes for it to do its low voltage landing, and then it's cut off. There we go. So it only seemed about 10 or so seconds until it landed, and then it just shuts off automatically. So that's great. Really impressed with SYMA's new addition with the altitude hold here, and so far so good. They did have 2 rates, and the second rate, it seemed like they did speed up with the pitch and the roll. They give us a little more angle from their previous renditions of this X5. The FPV was working really well here in the house. You know, it's got the normal FPV lag, but it was definitely usable, and it's very responsive. But so far, pretty impressed. The only thing was it did not have any, I couldn't find any kind of return to home. So I'm not sure if that was a feature left out of this one, or maybe mine just didn't work. But it did have a good working headless, but no return to home. Anyway guys, overall impressed with the SYMA X5HW Wi-Fi version of their new altitude hold quadcopter. Don't forget, I will have the links down in the description of where you can pick this guy up if you're interested. Seems like a solid little toy quad for messing around and learning how to fly. Anyway, I hope you liked the review, and thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.